Here's a preview of what you'll hear on this episode of Beyond the Wheel.
Often there's no RV park right where you want to be for the activity. So we build our own. We bring in generators. We set up big hospitality tents with services. We'll have a honey wagon, a water wagon come in so that you are very comfortable camping where there's no campground, but it's where the event and the festival is going on, and you want to be right there. You don't want to be camped 30 miles outside of town, away from the event, and then get stuck in all the traffic that usually comes with these big festivals and events.
Now enjoy the show.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
Whether your adventure is on the road, on the water, or off the grid, Battleborn batteries keep you out there longer.
Hey everyone, Kenny here. Do you travel with pets and are looking for a way to monitor and be alerted of temperature spikes in your RV while away? I've been using a temp stick in our RV for over 3 years, and I love the simplicity of being able to connect to any of our hotspots, as well as not having the hassle of any subscription or service fees. If you are looking for a reliable way to protect your pets while away, check out TempStick at tempstick.com. Have you ever dreamed of taking a once-in-a-lifetime RV vacation, but fear you will miss on some of the must-sees of that trip? Or would you like to RV overseas, but fear you will have trouble booking reservations and navigating in a foreign country? Well, stay tuned as we sit down with the CEO and founder of Fantasy RV Tours, Nell Fillinger, to hear how they take all the worry out of RV vacations and just leave the fun. So let's get this episode started.
Hi, Nell. Welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Fantasy RV Tours?
Yes, hello there. I am the CEO and founder of Fantasy RV Tours. And we provide guided RV vacations around the world. We have rallies and we have traveling caravans. Rallies is usually centered around an event like maybe the Pasadena Rose Parade or Calgary Stampede or the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, where we all meet up together and we provide tickets to the events, buses to go out and see the highlights of the area. And it's a non-traveling tour. And then our caravans are anywhere from 7 days all the way up to our longest one is 62 days.
Wow.
And we offer these tours all over United States, in Canada, in Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. We have RV safaris in Africa.
You're the founder. What sparked the idea of starting this?
Oh, gosh. That's a story, Sean and Kenny. It's a pleasant one, I think. My parents were always campers with RVs. They started off with a pop-up tent camper, and then they went on to a Class A, and that goes way back to the 60s. And in the late 60s, early 70s, they were taking caravans to Mexico. And so these caravan tour companies go way back, I would say, to the 60s for sure. So I grew up RVing. I grew up camping. And then my husband and I, we got an RV. And when the kids went off to college, we sold the house, put some things in storage, and we took off in our RV and we went to Mexico for a year. And we didn't come back. The kids are like, "Oh, you're not coming back for Christmas?" It's like, "Oh no, go to grandma and grandpa's," you know? So we toured all of Mexico. That would have been in 1990. We started out in the Baja, went down the Baja Peninsula, And then after we spent a couple months there, we put our RV on an ocean going ferry, went over to the mainland, did the Pacific coast, on up into the Copper Canyon. And then we continued to central Mexico, on down to Acapulco, then the Yucatan side, all the way down to Belize. And we saw these caravans down there. I had never been on a caravan at that time, but my parents had been going. They were believers. They got bit by the bug. And so they were part of that whole crowd that kind of like a lot of cruisers are today with cruising. It becomes their way of travel. Well, that was my parents' way of travel. So I felt like I had been on many and I knew so much about caravaning. And we saw a real kind of a hole in the market. And it was a niche that we felt like we could fulfill. And we did more research and development. And then in 1991, we ran our first tour. It was a caravan and it was just the Baja Peninsula. We went from San Diego to Cabo San Lucas and it was a 30-day caravan. And then it's like, oh my gosh, it just grew and grew. And we started going to mainland, and at about the 4-year mark, we were the largest RV touring company taking RVers to Mexico. We actually kind of squeezed out a couple of other companies that kind of went bye-bye. And then we expanded to Canada, Alaska, and United States. Today, we are the largest RV tour company in the world.
Did you always have that vision then that to expand? Like you wanted to start out with going to Mexico, but did you always envision, well, this is working here, let's branch out and go worldwide? Or like how gradual was that?
Well, it took about 3 years, which actually isn't very long.
No, not at all.
It's like, okay, we can expand this business model and make it work. Our goal was to take as many RVers as possible out and show them how to use their home on wheels, because that's part of it too. We get brand new RVers that we teach them the ropes and how to really not just have a week vacation where you're going from point A to point B, zoom there, zoom back. It's like a windshield tour, how to really enjoy. And we try to create tours for everyone that it fits their schedule and it fits their budget, so we can continue to expose more and more RVers to this kind of travel experience.
And then you do have several different types of tours, and like you said, that you're trying to fit people's schedule. What's the shortest trip you have? And you said you have a 72-day trip as well, right?
62. Mm-hmm.
62. Okay.
Yes. Our shortest is a rally, and that is the 5-day Albuquerque balloon rally. Our shortest caravan is 7 days. Oh. And that's northern Mexico. Our 7-day, we take folks out of southern Arizona over into Mexico, just 60 miles across the border. It's escorted, of course. And we have one big beach party at Puerto Penasco there in the Rocky Point area for a week, and people love it. And it introduces them to kind of exotic RVing in Mexico. Then we have another 7-day that goes over out of San Diego Ensenada area to northern Baja. That's 7 days. And that's our wine and dine. Most people don't know that there is a great wine region in northern Baja called Guadalupe Wine Region. And it's kind of the up and coming, soon to be Napa Valley, and great wines and restaurants. So many world famous chefs have opened restaurants there. It is just fabulous. And then we go on up to 62 days in Alaska. That is our longest tour that we offer.
Okay.
And I've never been on a caravan, but my wife is always trying to talk me into it. Can you tell me, like, what's like on that 7-day trip into Mexico? How does it go? What's included in the trip? are there tours planned during that 7 days? How does it work?
Yes, good question. We include all the camping nights. We make the camping reservations up to 2 years in advance. As you know, it's very hard to get in campgrounds these days with the big boom in RVing, but it's no problem. We've had our reservations for a long, long time. And we include some meals. We don't just feed you every meal or every night to kind of like cruising, just to feed you. It's a special experience. It might be regional food with entertainment, something that's very unique that restaurant offers. And of course, our wagon master and tail gunner are there to assist you, to make sure that all of your vacation needs are met, whether you want to go deep sea fishing or golfing. We include all of the can't miss activities. So, for example, if it's the Albuquerque balloon, everybody wants to see Old Town. Go to the Turquoise Factory and Museum. And there's some other highlights in Albuquerque. You're going to be shown that by our guides. We provide it. It is included in the price of your tour. Then you also have free time. So if you are a golfer or you want to go say fishing, or you want to do bungee jumping, or you want to do a hot air balloon, those are things that not everybody wants to do. And so we include the activities that are can't miss, you must see, and that any reasonable person might enjoy doing. The unreasonable people are the fun people anyway. And our group, sometimes we'll have a group of, say, 60-year-olds, but they act like 16-year-olds.
Right.
And it's just a great fun, lots of good camaraderie.
You had mentioned a wagoneer and a tail gunner. When they're traveling, is one in the lead and one, this is what I'm picturing anyway, and then somebody's following behind to make sure everybody's staying together? Because I would imagine it's not easy to navigate several RVs down the road all at one time, and not everybody's going to show up at the same location at the same time.
The way we do it, Kenny, is we have a wagon master, it's called. Wagon master and a tail gunner. Unless it's in Mexico, we don't travel as a group bumper to bumper. It's not convoy style.
Okay.
Yes. We say, this is not, I like to have fun with people. It's not an incarceration tour. We're not going to herd you around if you don't want to be herded around. If you want to hang out with the wagon master and follow the wagon master, you can do that, but we don't recommend it. The wagon master will tell you usually the night before or the morning of travel. We'll have a briefing and he will tell the group, okay, today I'm going to leave at 7 a.m. or tomorrow I'm going to leave at 7 a.m. You can leave whenever you want. If you want to follow me, that's okay. But I'm going to go straight to the RV park. And I'm not going to stop and look at the beautiful scenery. I'm not going to stop and take photos. And I highly encourage you not to follow me, because oftentimes the best part of a tour like this is your travel day. It's not get to the campground. The campground is just a campground to rest up. And you just don't want to race to get to the campground. And then the tail gunner is the last person to leave the campground on a travel day. And he'll be in contact with the guest and ask them, okay, about what time do you think you'll leave? Oh, we're not going to leave till about 10 today. And then we're going to stop and have lunch at this nice little village. And he says, okay. And he's the last person on the road that day on the travel day. So that should you have an emergency or a breakdown, some type of emergency, we are there to help you. And if we can't take care of it for you, we're going to get you the help that you need. Okay. And that's very important to people, because oftentimes we are traveling in very remote areas.
And so when you're on these tours, I'm sure it might depend on the length and where you're going. Do you cap the number of RVs that can go based on maybe the remoteness or something like that?
Yes. On a typical traveling caravan, we take 22 RVs. And then we have our tour leader and the tour assistant, or the wagon master and tail gunner, as they're known. So it's a maximum of 24 RVs.
And then the rallies, do you cap those at any certain amount?
Yes, it depends on the rally. So, for example, the Calgary Stampede, we will take 70 RVs. Pasadena Rose Parade, it's 50. Albuquerque Balloon, it can be as many as 100 RVs. And then, of course, we have the big hospitality tents to host events, to host. Sometimes we have travel logs, we have catered meals, and we have entertainment. It's a place to come and socialize. When we go to areas such as the Calgary Stampede or the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, often there's no RV park right where you want to be for the activity. So we build our own. We bring in generators. We set up big hospitality tents with services. We'll have a honey wagon, a water wagon come in, so that you are very comfortable camping where there's no campground, but it's where the event and the festival is going on, and you want to be right there. You don't want to be camped 30 miles outside of town, away from the event, and then get stuck in all the traffic that usually comes with these big festivals and events.
So you guys are planning things, I would imagine, well in advance to be able to have this all set up. And I know Sabrina and I, we booked the Albuquerque Balloon Festival for 2022. We've already booked it a couple months ago, but I saw there that we could have even booked 2023. Like, you guys are planning things well in advance. What do you recommend for people? Like, how soon? Like Sabrina and I felt like we were doing a good job at planning a year in advance, and then saw that, oh, you could plan 2 years in advance. What do you recommend people to, how soon should they be planning a trip and reserving their spot?
Well, we recommend a minimum of a year, but
Okay.
oftentimes if you wait and do it at a year, we're all sold out because we have our dates. Like our Alaska tours for 2022 have been sold out for a very long time with a waiting list. We're running 12 of them, and they have been sold out for well over a year. Same with the Canadian Maritime provinces in the northeastern part of Canada. Same thing. Balloon is almost sold out now for 2022. People like to plan a couple years in advance too. Plus, we have a monthly payment plan that when you reserve a tour a couple years out, instead of, you see the price of the tour and it's kind of like, oh my gosh, well, we have a payment plan. You can set it up on equal monthly payment, no interest for 2 years. That's the beauty of it too. Yes.
No interest is great. That's nice that you guys offer that, or are able to offer that.
Did COVID mess up any of your events, or because it's RV related, mostly outdoor type stuff, were you able to continue a lot of your tours?
In 2020, we could not run any tours from March 15th through the end of the year because they just were shut down and campgrounds were not taking groups. But we're back, recovered. This fall, we've run so many tours this year. We have several out right now, and it's been a real fun time. The recovery has been pretty substantial because people are buying more RVs than ever, and they're getting out and using those campgrounds. That's why it's good to plan a year to 2 years in advance right now.
I like what you said earlier too, like people new to the RV experience. I think I'm sure that gives people a lot of peace of mind and overall confidence that they're going to be able to travel and probably learn. I'm sure they must learn a lot on these trips, and plus they're having a lot of fun while doing so.
Yeah, well said, Kenny. We always say a couple that travels together, there's usually the planner, and then there's the yes dear person.
Yeah.
And when it works out, it's great, but when it doesn't work out, it's not so great. We do all the planning. All you have to do is show up. The planner doesn't have to plan. And the yes dear doesn't have to smile even when they thought they were going to. The planner says, okay, we're going to camp at this place by the, there's a little lake there and it's going to be nice. And you show up and it's an infested mud hole right next with mosquitoes right next to your RV. That's not going to happen when you travel with us. And usually the couple who travels together at the end of the tour, they'll look at each other and say, boy, did we make a great decision, because it's stress-free and it's peace of mind. All of those cliche terms really do apply to traveling with a commercial caravan group. When we go to, say, Alaska, we have Alaska tours that some of them start in the United States and we travel together the whole time. Others will start up in British Columbia, and people can, at their leisure, get up to our rally point where we start in British Columbia. Some of our other tours end in British Columbia so that you can extend and stay longer. So there's a great deal of flexibility in this type of travel as well.
Are there requirements for the RVs that go on the trips? Like, is there an age requirement or a type? Like, can fifth wheels, travel trailers, Class A's, Class C's, is it open to all of them? Can you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it's open to all types of RVs. We have sometimes pop-up campers that go with us. These days, especially, we have many of the van campers, the Class Bs, the Class B plus. That's really taken off in the last couple of years. And then all the way up to 45-foot buses, if you will, RVs. So yes, they are all welcome. And we do have specialized tours for different groups, such as the Winnebago group. We have tours that we operate just for Winnebago owners. We have many public tours. It's open to everybody. And then we are travel partners with Good Sam. We are their only endorsed travel partner, and we provide tours for Good Sam members and also for Family Motor Coach. Family Motor Coach, as I think most people know, is open to all towables, all types of RVs now, and that's been real exciting the last few years. So we feel like we have something for everybody. Also, Tiffin Club members and a few others, but we feel like we have something for everybody. And if I could just say, I wanted to mention this earlier and I forgot, but we have taken over 75,000 RVers on their trip of a lifetime, and we are so proud of that. That is a legacy. For Fantasy RV Tours, we're 4 generations. My father helped us. He was a founder as well as my husband and I. And then my sons worked in the business, and now my adult grandchildren are working in the business. So we are 4 generations with different perspectives, very diverse perspectives, and now having a millennial in one of those generations, we are getting another perspective. So we're very proud of that. And I totaled that up about 2 years ago because I'm thinking, well, what is the legacy here? And the legacy is exactly the same as the mission when we started 30 years ago. And that's to expose as many people as possible to this type of RVing. And over 75,000, I think, is a pretty significant number.
Yeah, it's great. And most people, I think, even larger kudos to you is that most family businesses don't make it 4 generations.
Persistence, resilience, and passion and love for what you do. And we all have that in my family.
I'm curious because now you got me thinking of all the different people that have gone through the tour. Have you, or does this happen? Do people rent RVs and then take their rental on a tour with you guys?
That has happened.
Okay.
I would say that that's more of the exception than the norm. But yes, we've had rentals go as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just curious because it just seems like a great way to vacation. I think this would be really fun for people that geez, it might even be a great way for people who are wondering about the RV life to see, are they able to do it? and
Yes.
to have a support group with them as they travel for the first time in an RV.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering
Absolutely.
if that did happen. That's very
It
cool.
does. Hmm.
I was wondering, out of all those, the people that go on all the trips, now, do you have favorite trips that you take? You don't make it to every trip, I would imagine, throughout the year. How many trips do you do a year?
Well, I used to do all of them in the early days, of course. And I usually get out, I would say, on about 3 trips a year. In 19, I did a Alaska caravan. It was great. It was where we filmed for the Discovery Channel show, and it was a lot of fun. It's good to get away from the desk and out in the field. And I hadn't been to Alaska for quite a few years, so that was great. And the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta I go to every year. We have a reunion rally that I go to every year. I'm going to be going to Mexico again next year. My favorite of all times, I have to say, is the whale watching in the Baja Peninsula, where we go about halfway down the peninsula and we go out in small 20, 22-foot pangas, boats, and the mother whales and the baby whales come up to the boat, under the boat. You get to touch them. You can kiss them if you want. And that by far is still my favorite. I remember many, many years ago, there was a gentleman, an elderly gentleman that was on the tour, and we did the whale watching. And he was quite a global traveler, had traveled the world, the Orient, all, the world. And he said, in all my worldly travels that I have done in my life, this by far is the most memorable experience. And that was touching and kissing a mother whale and the baby whale coming right up to the boat to have its head petted, for lack of a better term. It's pretty cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is incredible. You mentioned you have affiliations with like Winnebago and Good Sam and FMCA. If I book one of their tours through you, through the club, is it the same experience as if I just booked it without the club?
It is pretty much the same experience. It is. What the difference is you get a nice discount, club discount. But sometimes, say in Alaska, we might have just one Winnebago tour, and that might be, the date might not work for you. And then you could go on one of our public tours or a Good Sam tour. And it's interesting how so many of these club members, they have duplication of their membership. It's like, well, I've got Good Sam, I've got FMCA, I'm a WIT club member,
Yeah.
I belong to, whatever. And so we find something that works for them, because having multiple dates to choose from is important.
Kenny and I just became FMCA members.
Great.
And
Great.
Just got my plaque day before yesterday.
Yay.
So I'm trying to figure out where on the RV I'm going to put it.
I'm
Yes.
still waiting for mine. Mine must be right behind yours, I guess.
Okay, so Sean, what's your member number?
Oh, it's pretty high. 54488
Yeah.
or
Oh,
something like
gosh.
that. It's pretty big.
Well, they have an interesting thing that they do. They allow you, I had my own number for many years. And then when my dad passed away, he's kept up his membership, and I took on his number now. And so I think my number is like, it's 13,000 something. And it has the D behind it because I'm for daughter.
Oh,
That's
nice.
that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
He loved FMCA and Good Sam. Yep.
FMCA seems like a great club. We just had Chris, the CEO, on the show a
Yes.
couple weeks ago.
Chris
Very nice
Smith.
guy.
Mhm.
Chris Smith. Yep.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
He's
super nice
great.
guy.
Yeah,
very
he's been
nice.
the CEO there now for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years. And
Yep, that's what he said.
he's done so much for the organization. And Chris and I work very closely together with our partnership we have together.
I would imagine throughout all these years that things have changed a lot. So you were doing this in the 90s. that's almost pre-internet. I feel like it would have been
It was. Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, for those
Uh-huh.
trips were probably heavily researched. You were very adventurous when you were telling me that story about you going down to Mexico in 1990 and doing this long trip. I'm like, braver than I am.
Yeah, I mean, you had a road atlas, and then there were all these writers that did books like Fromer's Guide to Whatever. And yep, that was it. No Googling it.
Yeah.
The research was just a lot of time, a lot of labor intense, but it's fun research.
Yeah. But now I feel like I bet you it's the opposite, where people get overwhelmed with all the information. If they were to look this up themselves, they probably get overwhelmed with the information and really not know truly what is the must see or the must do. Like when you talk about the balloon festival, Sabrina and I are going with you guys next year for it. I'm glad that you guys are taking care of it, because I feel like Sabrina and I always miss things on every trip. We'll tell somebody, oh, we were, wherever it may be. We were in Savannah, Georgia. I just found out from Sean that Savannah, Georgia has a wonderful haunted tour. Sabrina and I knew nothing about it. We missed it.
Yeah.
So
I've done that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I love that this balloon festival that we're doing with you guys is already taken care of. You're hitting all the spots. Sabrina and I to be honest, we booked the trip and we haven't looked at it since, to figure out, because we know that you guys are going to take care of us in a sense.
Yes, well said. I remember one time I was at I think it was an FMCA show in Redmond many years ago. And a couple came up to the booth, because at the big RV shows, we usually have seminars and booths. And they said, oh, let's see what you do in Alaska. And they opened our catalog and they looked at it, and they'd just gotten back. Wow. They lived in Florida. So they traveled all the way from Florida, and they went to Alaska for well over 2 months. And they were looking at all the includes and said, and the map, oh yeah, we did that. Well, and then it started like, well, we didn't know about that. Oh, well, we couldn't get the glacier boat tour because it was all booked up by caravan companies. And so we just stayed back and rested and did laundry that day. And we didn't see this. And the wife looks at the husband, look at all the things that we missed. We put 8,000 miles from Florida, a round trip, spent 3 months. I told you, George, we should have gone with an RV tour. We missed all these things.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
It is, yeah. And usually you're just going to go once on a trip of a lifetime.
Something like that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially from Florida. Like you said, 8,000-mile round trip. Yeah. Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
Well, yeah, the Alaska tour, you're going to just in Alaska and British Columbia, you're going to do, if you do it right, probably 5,000-6,000 miles. Yeah.
Oh, that's serious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you also mentioned international trips, not just Mexico and Canada, but international across the water type trips. How does that work? Do you just meet up overseas and rent RVs? Is that how it goes?
Yes. We have in, say, our New Zealand, Australia, we have a fleet. We rent a fleet of these. They're like kind of a supersized Class B or a small Class C, kind of something in between there. We'll meet in Christchurch, New Zealand, and we check into a hotel for 2 nights, spend 3 days touring the area, bus tours, and getting acclimated to the time difference. Then we pick up our RVs and we take off in the RVs. And we do the North and South Islands in New Zealand. We put the little RVs on a ferry to go to the North Island. And then we turn them in, and then we fly over to Australia, New Zealand, spend a few days there in a hotel in Cairns, and go to the Great Barrier Reef, whatever, and see all the sights. And then we pick up the RVs again and we go down the coast. So that's kind of how overseas works. And kind of the same for South Africa when we do our wildlife safari there.
So you guys are doing the actual RV rental. So like if Sean or I were to do the trip, we're not booking the RV.
No, we book it. Your part would be for overseas is to get to the where we rally at, like in South Africa, it's Cape Town. And you would get your flight there. And then on that tour, after we do the safari, then we go on up to Victoria Falls, and there is a flight included, but we take care of that flight for you. But flying overseas or over the pond, so to speak, would be your responsibility. And on Australia, New Zealand, there's numerous flights because we fly from one country to another, and then we fly to the outback. And so those are included in your tour package.
Okay. Well, that's great. What a great way to do it.
Man, this is making me excited about getting out there and traveling again, Kenny.
Yeah, Sabrina and I always talk about international travel, and we get excited about it, but then we're also very nervous about it. There's just that sense of unknown, and how do we make it work? I really like that you guys even take care of the actual RV rental itself too. That's great.
All of that. And then we have a very detailed trip logs that we feel, for the most part, are more accurate than a GPS. We tell our guests, when in doubt, follow our trip log. I mean, we've got some trip logs for a 60 day that's like this thick. And we've put it together. We have that on all of our tours. It's very valuable to have.
Okay. And then is it the similar thing? Like I used our Winnebago membership to book the balloon festival. Do some of these clubs do international trips as well?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
Not all the time, but it depends. We might have one, say, for FMCA 1 year, and then 3 or 4 years later, we do it again.
Okay.
But usually the overseas, they're more for the public, but we do some member only. Mm-hmm.
And then what do you recommend for people making a reservation for an overseas trip? How far in advance? Is that also a minimum year, or are you talking?
Yes.
Okay.
A minimum.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Our Australia, New Zealand 2022 and 2023 are sold out with a long waiting list.
Okay. Very
cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
I wanted to go off topic for just a quick second. So Sabrina and I always travel with our dog, and we're bringing Belle to the balloon festival trip. I'm almost positive when we filled out the form, or that when we called, you guys asked about a pet. Are dogs allowed on all the trips, or is that something that depends on where you're going?
They are allowed on all the trips except overseas.
Okay, perfect.
They're allowed to go to Canada, Mexico. You just need a international health certificate, which you just go to your vet, and they verify that for you, that your dog or your cat are the vaccinations are current, and they have the form there for an international health certificate.
Okay, great. I know it probably sounds like a silly question, but part of the RVing travel for us is because of our dog. Like, we wanted a way to travel and bring her along and not have to board her. So, I mean, having our dog with us for these trips are kind of a big deal for us anyway.
They are for so many RVers. It's a big consideration when you have a pet and you want a vacation. And, also, you know how it goes with your home on wheels. We're all RVers. You've got your own sheets, your own towels, your own everything. And it's just a great way to travel.
Yeah, we love it.
So now, what's the best way for people to see what's available with Fantasy RV Tours? How can people explore what you have to offer?
By going to our website, fantasyrvtours.com. And we do have a call center with ambassadors. We call them our travel ambassadors. And you can call the 800 number, and then you'll have one of our travel ambassadors that can even help walk you through the website and to answer any questions about any of the tours. Or if you don't want to call and have your own travel ambassador, you can do it all online, and you can actually make your reservation online. How did you make yours, Kenny?
I phone call.
I called.
Yeah, I called in.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember who I spoke to so I could tell you their name, because they were wonderful. They were very, I always sound confused. I don't know if I really am confused, but I always sound confused. And they took their time with me to answer all my questions.
Oh, good.
They were great.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like you found the right career now because it sounds like you have a lot of fun in your job.
I absolutely do. And it just, there's never a dull moment. And I still have equal passion today as what I did 30 years ago when we started the company.
I think that's all of our questions for today. Nell, is there anything that Sean and I might have missed or that you would like to add before we let you go?
There's one part of the travel day that I'm not sure that I explained. On a travel day, we are spread out over maybe 2 or 3 hour period where the first RV might get into the campground and then the next RV might get in 30 minutes later. We do on a travel day what we call scattered travel, where we're not all leaving the campground at the same time. And oftentimes you'll get to know someone, become friends with someone, and or 2 or 3 couples, and maybe the 3 RVs will leave the campground at the same time. And so you are spread out so that we don't have all the RVs arriving at the same time to be parked, because when you get to the RV park, you don't have to go into the office. We have our usually the tail gunner there waiting for you, waving you in off the road with a walkie-talkie or cell phone, communicating back to the wagon master who will be waiting at your spot to help park you. And so that couple will be back there waiting, the other couple at the front of the RV park say, okay, go back to site 28 and Joe and Mary are waiting there for you and will help get you parked. So that's another part of this being a hassle-free experience. You're not having to go check into an RV park and wait and wait and wait, especially these days because they're so busy. I did want to mention that we do scattered travel, except in Mexico, we do travel caravan style. We travel together on a travel day.
Very cool. That's great. I think that answers everything that Sean and I had questions about. And we really appreciate you taking the time and talking with us today now. And I'm telling you, Sabrina and I are already counting down our days for the trip. Hopefully I get a chance to meet you. I've met you once before at the Winnebago rallies, but it'd be nice to see you again at the Balloon Festival. So I'll keep my eyes out for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will be there and I'll be back at the GNR next summer.
I
if you're
am
going to be there.
Yep,
I go to the Winnebago rally every year. So it's great. Maybe I'll see you, Sean, out on the road or.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you're going to, do you go to the Tampa Super Show too?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll see you there then.
We'll be there.
Yes. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Real good.
Well, great. Well, thanks so much for your time, Nell. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We want to thank Nell for coming on the show and telling us all about fantasy RV tours. What a great way to travel in an RV, particularly in unfamiliar countries. We encourage everyone to check out the website, fantasyrvtours.com, and see what they have available. Nell was correct, though. They do book up fast. As always, thanks to Battleborn Batteries and TempStick for their support of the podcast. These are 2 great companies that are very supportive of the RV community. Thanks for listening, and we will be back in 2 weeks.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety. So go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. Hey everyone, Kenny here. Do you travel with pets and are looking for a way to monitor and be alerted of temperature spikes in your RV while away? I've been using a TempStick in our RV for over 3 years, and I love the simplicity of being able to connect to any of our hotspots, as well as not having the hassle of any subscription or service fees. If you are looking for a reliable way to protect your pets while away, check out TempStick at tempstick.com.